last year, the new mayor of Bury spoke to a large group of people who came together by the town hall just a short walk from here. In the immediate days following the horrific Manchester Arena attack, where as you know, please leave. If that's your opinion, please get out of here. We do not want you here. As you know, 22 people lost their lives, including John and Olivia, two young people from Bury, as we know. The grief was raw and palpable that day, almost a year ago, for their families and also for this town. And we soon saw last year how this solidarity and grief and friendship spread across the world, across the globe, and how many people sent their solidarity and love to Manchester, to Bury, to the towns around, people from all nationalities and regions. And we know how much that worldwide solidarity meant. Today, I've got to speak to you again as this year's mayor. And tragically, we are now the ones who stand here together in Bury, extending solidarity with people who are suffering 11,700 miles away. The families, the friends, the neighbours, the fellow citizens of the many people who lost their lives, by now at least 50, and the many more who are struggling in hospital to recover. I was at my synagogue on Saturday morning, and last weekend in other synagogues, mosques and churches and places of worship, people were so conscious of how in Christchurch people were killed as they prayed, as they stood together in a place of worship. So today, as we stand together, we remember all those who have lost their lives and send prayers and love for their recovery. I'm your mayor, but I'm also the granddaughter of 4 immigrants who came here for a better life, like many of those who died in Christchurch last Friday. It should never be acceptable to voice anti-immigrant views like we've just heard. I will always challenge everyone who does so. Your civic and political leaders in Bury take their responsibilities very seriously of keeping our town safe. Many people in this town speak out against all forms of hate crime. We will not allow race and religious hatred to become normalised. We send our love and our solidarity to Christchurch. Shalom and salam.
Thank you.
New Zealand just over a week ago. It was a moment in time for us all, I think, but is rather sadly an all too frequent moment in time. We meet at a time where there is division in our politics, division in our country, division in our politics that often makes us feel like we are without hope. And yet, just as learning what lighting a candle in the dark can do, this is the beginning of the fight back from the darkness. And hope. Hope springs eternal. And whether it's religion or politics, these are institutions of hope. And we do not let hate win, ever. We defeat hate with love, with solidarity, and a recommitment to each other. The division that is being sown by acts of terror, whether far-right extremists or any other terror, they are a minority of actions against the majority of people for whom we have more in common than that which divides us. We remember that. As my colleague Jo Cox said, she was also killed by a far-right terrorist. She teaches us, as do all our scriptures represented by our brilliant civic and religious leaders here today, we have more in common. So let us spend far more time finding that which is in common between us, between our families, between our communities, between our politics, and remember that the one unifying force that beats everything else is love. So thank you for being here today. Thank you for taking the time out to pay your respects, because an attack, whether it be at the arena in Manchester or the mosque in New Zealand in Christchurch, is an attack on us all, and we are stronger together than if we are divided. Thank you very much.
Next, what do you call Councillor Zealand Christchurch?
Can I just say hello to all my brothers and sisters and children that are here today on this very important occasion. I begin by sending my condolences to all the victims and families, and to the families of those who died in the 2 Christchurch mosque terror attacks. We condemn these cowardly attacks on innocent Muslims during prayers. To all the people of New Zealand, look here and bury, and everywhere, irrespective of our colour, our religion, we stand shoulder by shoulder and in solidarity with you. You are us, we are you. I also condemn the terror attacks in the UK, recently in Surrey, London, and the attacks last night on 4 mosques in Birmingham. I am ashamed of many comments I have read on social media after Christchurch attacks. Here, if I do not mention the New Zealand Prime Minister, I think it would be grave injustice. I pay tribute to the Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern for the great leadership, the support, the compassion and dignity she has shown towards the Muslim population following this horrific tragedy. Something that I have never seen before. She has proven a wonderful, caring leader. She rightly and swiftly pronounced the attacks a terrorist attack where many might have hesitated. And now, whilst my thoughts are with all those who have lost their lives in the most callous way in New Zealand, I have to say that in this country and worldwide, it's time that the narrative now changes. The state, UK government, need to now clamp down on the press. And sadly, I must say some politicians high up. Association to religion of terrorists demonizes whole communities. It creates a hostility between 2 forms of civilization, the Muslim world and the rest. But we are one humanity. We are one humanity. And the terrorist attacks, be it on mosques, or the Pittsburgh synagogue, or the Philippines church, prove one and one thing only: the terrorists have no religion. An attack on a place of worship is an attack on all faiths. We do not need the sort of divisions created deliberately by the right-wing press, which sadly led to the murder, as my friend MP referred to Joe Cox MP, and many other terror-related attacks in the UK. The state owes a responsibility to its citizens. I finish therefore with a request to all the Member of Parliaments, particularly those in Bury. We have James Frith MP here for Bury North, and also to Ivan Lewis MP, and other leaders, to put a case to the government that the irresponsibility shown in the right-wing press and some politicians must now be curtailed. It fans the flames of far-right hate and gives it credence. This was only yesterday confirmed by our UK anti-terror chief, Neil Basu, who said the UK papers help to radicalize the far right. It needs to be challenged by all our national and local leaders. If the press are not controlled, we could see in time similar incidents taking place on our soil again. This must be avoided at all costs, and we need action now. I say this because hate and speeches leading to violence are not freedom of expression. They are not freedom of speech, like many people might try to tell me. Once again, I finally want to express solidarity with the people of New Zealand. Let's together fight for hope, not hate. Let's fight all forms of racism, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism. Together, as one human family, we will prevail. Thank you.
I was listening to what the Imam said first about how to save a life is to save the world. And this is also in our Talmud, which made me think that we're not strangers here together, we're cousins. The Jewish community and the Muslim community, we are first cousins. We share so much together. What happens to one of our communities happens to both of our communities. When somebody hurts us, they hurt you. When they hurt you, they hurt us. As somebody just said to me, what starts with words never ends with words. Somebody else said something about words are not harmless. I saw a poster on social media yesterday, which had attacking Muslims and Jews together, also attacking other minorities. We need to stand together, we need to look out for each other. We are first cousins, and we should look after for all our other cousins in society. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. Firstly, on behalf of Great Manchester Police, our thoughts are with the family and friends of those who have lost their lives in this despicable act of terrorism. This act of terrorism was aimed at dividing communities across the world. We as Great Manchester Police will not let that divide our community here. We must also continue to stand together to stamp out incidents of hate across Bury. GMP will take swift and positive action to deal with all forms of hate crime. We need the public support and the community support within Bury to ensure that hate crimes are reported to us, and we have a really clear picture on where these things are happening so we can intervene at an early stage. This act was designed to create fear, and GMP at Bury have put in place extra police presence, as Mr. Elliott said, and visibility across all religious buildings and premises to reassure the local community and those attending religious buildings, particularly at prayer time. We will continue to work with all faith groups to address any concerns they have. As many of you know, I've only just come to Bury in October of last year, but what I have found here is a real sense of strong community cohesion. Only the other week I attended the local mosques as they opened their doors across the UK and welcomed the local community of Bury within. What a fantastic day this was for myself personally, and to me I spoke to many of the local community who had such a real enlightenment to the Muslim faith. Thank you very much.
So pleased to see so many people here from different backgrounds, from different religions, different beliefs. First and foremost, I just want to say on behalf of myself and my family and my community here that we send our sincere sympathies and our condolences to all those who are martyred in New Zealand, in Christchurch, New Zealand. One cannot imagine what the family must be going through, those families must be going through at this moment in time. And I echo everything that has been said here by all our civic leaders and our faith leaders. This is a time for unity, not division. And I just want to say just a couple of things. First and foremost, the word Islam means peace. It comes from the Arabic word ism, which means peace. So anybody who tries to say or tries to equate Islam with terrorism or racism or xenophobia is completely wrong. The religion of Islam means peace. It means, the word salam means peace. Secondly, if we study the life of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him, one occasion he was sitting with his companions, and a young girl, 12, 13 years of age, she had torn clothes, and she was walking past, and the Prophet of God, he took off his cloak and he gave it to his companions, and he said, go and enshroud that young girl. And one of the companions said, oh Prophet Muhammad, she's a daughter of an unbeliever. And the Prophet Muhammad said, a daughter is a daughter, whether she's a daughter of a believer or an unbeliever, please go and enshroud her. This is the message of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. On another occasion, a hearse was going past, and the Prophet Muhammad stood in respect, and the companion said, O Prophet of God, he is a Jew. And the Prophet of Allah said, he is Ahl Kitab, he is person of the book. The Quran teaches us to respect our Jewish and Christian brethren. In fact, the first refugees of Islam took refuge in Abyssinia, modern day Ethiopia. So my brothers and sisters, we need to remember that we need to be united here in Bury. Of all faiths, of all political persuasions, our aim is the same. We need unity in our community. And the final thing that I would say is that yes, we are remembering New Zealand, we're remembering Christchurch, but please also remember what's happening in Kashmir, in occupied Kashmir. What has happened in Christchurch happens almost on a daily basis in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Yemen, in Kashmir. Let's not forget them. I thank you for listening to me. Thank you very much.
Bury Council, that Bury does not pick and choose the terrorist incidents, the victims that it remembers. Because, as the Mayor has said, this borough stood out when the terrorist incident took place at Manchester Arena. It was you, the people of Bury, who came together under 24 hours, of all faiths, of all races, to say that we stand against terrorism. And we remembered then my constituent, Olivia Campbell from the Redvilles estate, John Hardy from Radcliffe, and many other victims from right across the country. So it is only right that during our time of grief, as the world stood with us, we also recognise atrocities that take place right around the world. And when people ask why it matters, I point you to the unfortunate person who took the step at the beginning of the procession today to say that refugees are not welcome here. We send out one very clear message, and I say this not as a politician, but I say this as a proud grandson of immigrants. Refugees, asylum seekers, they are absolutely welcome in our borough, and it is our duty to open our doors to them, to support them, to work with them, and to ensure that they are part and parcel of Bury. Everybody from right across the world is part of our borough, and that's what makes us richer, that's what makes us stronger, and that's why it's even more important that we use opportunities like this to root out all forms of hatred, because they exist in society. Again, when people ask, what has Christchurch or New Zealand got to do with Bury? We say to them, look at the bigotry, look at the racism, look at the hatred that people from within our own communities came out with on social media in the last week. I'm pleased that Greater Manchester Police was able to arrest as many people as possible, as quick as possible, to send out a clear message that hatred, no matter to what religion, to what race, to what sexuality, will not be tolerated in our streets. And when I talk about incidents elsewhere, I'm pleased that in Bury we have taken steps to pay our respects to those that were fallen during the Pittsburgh synagogue attack. We remembered those who were fallen at the Orlando nightclub attack, predominantly aimed at the LGBT community. We remember those who were fallen by the Taliban in Jalalabad in Afghanistan, primarily targeted at the Sikh community. And today we're gathered to remember the victims who were fallen at Christchurch, New Zealand, primarily the Muslim community. to say that no forms of hatred is accepted, and we in Bury will take steps to root it out wherever it exists. And you know, there are many challenges. It's not going to be easy, and it will take a lot of work. Many people have shared with me conversations or statements of hatred over the last week. As much as I'm passionate about this area and as much as I lead on it, it is not just my responsibility, it is all of our responsibility to root out hatred. So I hope something that you take from the unfortunate incident that happened in New Zealand and unfortunate incidents that have happened elsewhere, and that may sadly continue to happen, is that you all need to speak out, whether it's in your place of worship, whether it's in your place of work, whether it's your local communities, whether it's online, wherever it is, we need to challenge hatred in all of its forms. I'd also like to extend the well wishes and sympathies of the council leader, who was unfortunately not able to be with us because he's out of the country. But I'm pleased that Bury Council took the steps last week to lower the flags in respect and issue a statement to say that Bury Council, on behalf of the residents of Bury, stand with the victims of those in Christchurch and New Zealand. And of course, we extend our well wishes and prayers to them, as we do to all victims of terrorism right across the world.